Recording in progress.
Is that from Insignia?
Say that again?
Is that from Insignia? No.
What's that?
The RFP document that you have up?
Oh no, I just found this and pulled it off of Pi.
Okay. We were working with something that looked like that this morning.
I hope that's not it then. It's possible.
Yeah,
I mean, it's out there in the open. It's possible.
I don't think I forgot what they do. They do like creative writing and design and stuff like that.
Oh, then yeah, probably not. This is like a lead system
Yeah.
integration thing.
Uh-uh. I forgot what they do.
All right, folks, we will get started here in just a couple minutes. For the folks just joining us, we're going to get started here in just another minute or two. We're going to let some folks come in on the get it started. All right, folks, we're going to get started. So today we're going to talk about how to write a high quality outline. This is a really important task, frankly, because outlines are what fit into your initial generation. They probably a third of the power of Rogue, particularly if you're using it at the professional level, is the early automation, sort of the RFP drops, getting to kind of that first pink team draft, that time cycle, which is incredibly important, so you get all your writers on task and working towards a compliant document. It's a huge time crunch, and it's incredibly important. So, built obviously a bunch of innovative automations to make that process faster. One of the key facets in there, one of the key components of that workflow is the outline. And along with the outline, the compliance matrix. So I'm going to show you a couple of things today. We actually integrated those two components, which I will show you today. That's brand new. So let's get started. So I'm going to create a new proposal, right? Create a new proposal. I'm going to make this have a relevant RFP that I pulled off of SAM.gov this morning. So just create a new war room, name that war room. Obviously, the first thing I'm going to do in this new war room is I'm going to upload that RFP document. Okay. LSI follow-on RFP document. I'm going to upload that into the data shelf, right? So that the AI has access to that document as it's doing its generation, right? So that's step one. And if you have additional documents, I can show you a more complex RFP towards the end where, sections L, section M, the statement of work, the, SF33 with the solicitation are all in different documents. You can upload multiple documents in the same upload step. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go over to the compliance. So we're going to create that first compliance matrix generation. The reason I'm doing this in sequence is somewhat important. We're going to do the same thing, right? We'll look if the LSI, if that document I uploaded is already in here, right? I can just, right, so there's that RFP. I already uploaded it, so I don't have to upload it again. I can just use that solicitation document. And I'm going to kick off that compliance matrix generation process. It can take a few minutes, particularly if it's a larger solicitation that has multiple documents. If it's 80, 100, 200 pages long, it's going to take a couple of minutes for the AI to work through that entire document. But important first step is build out that initial compliance matrix. Okay. The reason is when we go to do our generation of the outline, we're going to use that same document or potentially that same set of documents. So I'm going to look for that document on my data shelf. Don't have to re-upload it. I'm going to pull that in. I've already obviously looked at this document. This is where I know that sections CL and M reside. I know that that's where I need the AI to pull the content. Like I said earlier, if there are multiple documents where the government has put the solicitation requirements, I'm going to want to upload all of those documents so that they can increase the font. It's hard to read. Let me see if I can. Okay, so uploaded the RFP. Okay, the RFP, AI shredded the RFP to pull out the relevant sections. And it identified the content in that RFP that is specified as a requirement by the government. So now I have this specified content requirement. And if I go over here, this is the actual solicitation, right? I can actually come in here. And if I look up section L&M, I can find what they specify, right? So here's the actual volume requirements. It is laid out. And here's where the AI has pulled that in. Okay, and built out the specific volumes that I have to write to. Awesome. This is my starting point. Okay. Now from here, I need to enhance this outline, right? I can just take this and go straight to putting out the initial draft. I don't necessarily want to do that. I want to make sure that this outline is as high quality as possible, that I've laced in my technical approach to the proposal in this initial outline so that when the AI goes to make my initial generation, it's doing the bulk of that front end work for me. Okay, so I don't have to do that immense amount of writing task. Now, feature that dropped, I think at the end of last week, early this week, is now you have the compliance matrix available for you in the outlining interface. The shalls and wills that are laid out in the compliance matrix, you have those available here as a sidebar while you're building out your proposal outline. If you want to pull up different shall statements that need to be dropped in, let's see. Ooh. And what I can do is I can use this sidebar to start outlining my proposal based off of what the government has specified as a requirement. Put the shall statements into the solicitation. I can start building that into my proposal. Okay. This I want to include in my technical, drop that in. And so up front, right before you go to the initial generation, you can spend a little bit of time lacing the relevant government requirements into your proposal outline so that you can immediately onto that content as you do that first gen. And this helps you so that you don't have to go back and forth between your compliance matrix and your outline. So when you're building out that first annotated outline, is anybody else having an issue seeing my whole screen? Got a question in the chat. Might just because I'm showing the entire Rogue interface. I'm also showing the solicitation. Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit of time here. I'm going to spend a little bit of time building out my response, and I'm going to look at the RFP. I'm going to look at what's being graded, and an interesting thing in here is look at the page requirements. They put in this interesting requirement for a sample task response, a 15-page limit for this volume 1.1. So I've got 15 pages for subfactor 1, understanding of the work, and element 1.1.1 sample task. Well, let's find out what the sample task is so I can make sure that that's being responded to here in the initial generation. So I'm just going to look up task, and you can see the AI pulled in sample task. Identify that that's a requirement in your proposal. And it pulled in some information, right? It pulled out what the government specified, actually. But I want to get a little bit more ingrained, a little more granular on what it is they actually want. So here's the sample task, volume 1, right? Specific instructions. Here's my technical. This is what they're asking for. Here's the sample task. Here's my written response requirement. Okay, this is what they're telling me. I have to write 15 pages of technical proposal, seems to be a bulk of which is responding to this sample task. And they've given me 2 pages of content to tell me about this sample task. I'm going to take this and I'm going to drop this in here into my outline instruction. So if you haven't done this before, each of these headers is a section of content. And within these sections, you can specify instructions to the AI. So I can tell the AI what I want it to do in those sections. So this instruction is pretty good. Basically came right out of the solicitation. This background section is what they want me to write to. So you can provide detailed response to the sample task, illustrating your understanding of the project scope, methodology for achieving it, all that information to the AI. And because this is such a large section of content, 15 pages for this technical area, I'm going to dial this page length all the way up. It's going to give me multiple pages of content. Let's see. So look, I've got my technical, right? Factor 1. I've got subfactor 1, understanding of the work. First thing I wanted to do is provide me a summary overview of the technical. Pick that up to about a page of content. And then I have the actual sample. Let's call this something like perfect. I'm going to make sure it saves. Now in here, I'm not a lead systems. That's what this is for, right? Or it looks like they have it for King Air ISR modification unmanned. But if I were actually responding to this, I personally, because it's such an important factor, I would probably put more detailed instructions. I'm going to add sections. I'll put them into this sample task response. I can subordinate under that sample response. talk about. Great question, David. I'll answer your question. And I can give it instructions. Right? So I can continue to build out this entire outline. Because what I want to ultimately do is save myself front-end time when I go to actually create the initial. So I'm going to make sure that this is robust and it includes most of the sections that I want to actually write to. What I don't want to do is start here and then go in and make my initial generation and then have to go back in and build in additional. Right? I want to, if I know that there are sections of content I want in that response, in that volume, I want to have that built on the front. So from here, right, I'll just hit create a document. That'll kick that over into the document section. Here's that first technical volume. It pulls in the volume name, volume, technical, description, and here, and I'll reiterate something we show in the demos, is that this is where you need to tell the AI what the government wants. And depending on how the government is soliciting things, that can have some pretty significant variation, right? They might actually articulate it in multiple places in a solicitation. And this is a good example in this specific solicitation. So this is a single award IDIQ for lead systems integration for the Navy. And so they give you general idea of what this contract is, right? So the scope is fairly broad. We want an LSI, right? But that's about as detailed as they get right here in the beginning of the statement of work. I'm going to take this, I'm going to drop that in. But that really doesn't capture what it is they actually want to buy. And if I just grab this entire statement of work from top to bottom, it's going to pick up a bunch of stuff that really isn't germane to what the government's looking to buy, like telework. That's not relevant right now. CDRLs, right? Not necessarily now. But when I come down here, get a little bit further in, security, not exactly totally relevant. Investigative requirements that we get, people need to have clear. But once you get further down, you see where they actually ask you for what they want. Oh, we actually want program management, right? So here's in detailed support. They actually talk about what they actually want. Now, the background's important. It gives you a lot of valuable context up front. But when they're talking about what they actually want, it's back here, right? It's down in this specific instructions. So I'm going to grab all of those instructions. Support section. I'm going to copy that out of the RFP. And this is why we don't make the AI do this part here, right? There's some critical thinking. There's some higher order thought that goes into actually identifying what the government specifically wants. And that is also why we put this sort of summation chatbot built into the system, right? So I can take 5 pages of detailed SAO, I can put that into the chatbot, and it's going to kind of remove all the extraneous content that isn't necessarily relevant for the AI's generation purposes. It's just going to pull out the most relevant content for that task, right? I just need to give it enough context that it can go in and build quality sections in that outline that I provide. Right, so it's summarized all the different things they asked for, right? Took all these different headers and summarized the support they're asking for, which I could have done manually if I wanted to. And so it's summarized the whole thing. I'll just hit copy. I'll drop this in. Fantastic. Are limited to 4,000 characters section. Good, we're good. We'll hit next. We'll review the whole thing real quick. There's my fairly robust outline. And then we'll hit create. And now the AI is going to do its first thing, right? So this is why that initial outline is so important. It's going to take all that context I just gave it and it's going to work on building in content into each one of those sections. The more robust I make that initial outline, the more robust this initial step is going to be. It's going to save me a ton of time after the fact when I go in and I actually have to start laying words into that initial draft. So we'll let this work for a little bit. I'm not going to make you watch this. It's probably going to take 10, 15 minutes to generate that first draft. I'm going to come back out here and answer a few questions. So David, what if I have an outline I want to use? So if you have an outline, you can come in here. You can just paste it directly into this black bar. So if you already have an outline built out, you can paste it directly into that black bar and the AI will convert that into this outline section. Another thing you can do is if you really want to, you can turn that outline into a template. So if it's an outline that you use frequently, you can come in here and just create a new one. You can paste it in here in classic mode and just have the headers and subheaders. Or you can do the same thing in advanced mode. You could paste it into the black bar and it will convert it into the structured AI-enabled outline that Rogue provides. And the AI just grab M and C and put the instructions for every section. Yeah, so same thing. We've kind of made this black bar a catch-all in that initial generation process. So for instance, if I come in here and I want to make a new outline, I can generally just grab this, proposal content and focus. And frankly, sometimes the government makes it that easy for you. Sometimes they don't. But if you're pretty confident in like, this is what they want us to answer, this is how they want it set up, they've made it pretty straightforward for us, you can just drop it right in the black bar and the AI will use that similar to the way that we have it work automatically, and it'll just pull out that structure. Liam, you have your hand up. Are you looking to ask a question? Is there a way to add processing power to cut the time down? Sorry, Carl. we've got the production or the processing load pretty well cross-loaded, but I think the major lag time is on the number of revolutions of generation that we do to create the level of quality that we. So, short answer is no. Unfortunately, kind of a linear function between time and quality. And there's only so many A100s. Now that does bring up an important question. So like it does take a minute for the outline to get generated, and it takes a little bit of time, particularly if you have a larger document to work with. It takes a little bit of time for the compliance matrix. I did an outline and a compliance matrix earlier today with 6 separate documents, right? And the AI has to work through and cross-reference through all of those documents to build out the initial compliance matrix. And so that can take a few minutes, take up to 10 minutes to build out that entire compliance matrix. Now, mind you, it has several hundred lines on it, right? Several hundred shalls, wills, must, mays. So it takes a couple of minutes to work it through, but it's much, much faster than having to do it. And that is essentially all I have to show you. We can pop back into the document once it's generated, but kind of the long and short of I pre-baked the cake out. So you can see we dropped directly into this initial document, and then from here we power tools very quickly go from that initial document to that initial Pink Team document that you want to be your first. Any other questions? Okay, can we? Okay, I think I answered all the questions. Aaron dropped a note in the chat. So if you want a demo of the platform, or if you're a current user and you would like a little bit more hands-on support for the platform, please feel free to schedule time with either one of those. And I will shoot out the link to this video email group after this call. We'll all be able to review and share and send this to your coworker. One last call for questions. Okay, nothing heard. I really appreciate everyone taking the time to join us today. Like I said, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to schedule a time. It takes 15-20 minutes to get hands-on support on any of these features, and we're happy to provide. Again, thank you. Have a great day.